Hello, welcome back. Typed here with what is first of going to be several video guides about how to use the Final Fantasy XII Openworld Randomizer and how to start off your first few playthroughs. First up here, we're going to do a quick tour of what is the current randomizer program. This one is version 0.7.4.9 and is, as time of recording, the latest version of the randomizer out. When you first boot up the randomizer as part of your installation, you'll probably notice the red text that's up here. What you do, click download, it'll bring up the link for the download file that you need, and then once it's downloaded, hit the install button here and select the unzipped file. I make a point. So we've done our install, now the red text is gone. That is the first good sign. So first up here we have our seed. This will be the random number that you will use to create your seed. If you are doing a race with someone else, make sure this number matches what they have. You can just select random seed and it will randomly spit out various numbers. Nothing much more than that. You can load previous settings. So you can load a seed from a JSON file. When you create a randomizer, it will create a JSON file with that particular seed. This is what you will be using if you are running the same seed as another person. If, say, you are running a cooperative playthrough together, or if you're running a race. Next down, you can load a seed from a previous version of the mod pack. Alright, next on, let's look at our flags over here. So at the presets, we have a few ones. Simple, basic key item, chaos, hopeless, and then custom. Basic one would probably be a good one if you're just starting out, and I realize that the drop down box has not shown up on my recording. Key item is probably what you want to do if you're starting out. Chaos and hopeless if you want a little bit more of a challenge. Category filter, we can sort our randomizations into stats, items, and other. For the moment, we will stick with all. Again, you have another button for loading a custom preset. This might be if you're doing organized races, they might have custom presets for that, or a themed setting. First up, randomize equipment stats. I like playing with this one. So this means that any weapons will have different values to what it normally would do. You could have a starting dagger with 90 attack instead of, I think it's 12 for a beginning dagger. Now we have hidden stats. This one makes things a bit more fun. I like including it. So there are various hidden stats that weapons can have. These include how much it will knock back an enemy, how often it has a chance to combo or crit, and how long it takes for it to charge. So normally in a base game, things like great swords take a very long time for the ATB to charge compared to something like a dagger. That's what the charge time is. Things like the katanas have a very high combo and crit chance. And then something again like a hammer or a greatsword has a good knockback. So that's what the effects of the weapon will be randomized here. Randomize equipment elements. This changes what the equipment's typing will be. In the base game, most weapons do not have an elemental affinity. This also includes the immunity, weakness, and potency of armors or weapons. So some weapons may be able to buff certain spells. That will be indicated on the weapon tooltip. This also affects enemies, so you can't randomize the equipment, the elemental properties of weapons only, and then enemies. This one, if it's your very first randomizer, perhaps keep this one off. I find that you tend to end up with enemies absorbing a lot of your hits. So randomize equipment augments now. So this randomizes your armor and accessory augments. This includes things like poison resistance, things like auto reflect, things like piercing magics, no XP, double license points. Normally anything that can go on the accessories in the base game, it's now on pretty much all anywhere. I enjoy this one. It spices things up a little bit. and you have the potential to get very good abilities early on, like half MP. Having said that, sometimes the downside is that you don't get accessories that protect against status effects, and that can be very annoying for certain bosses. Randomize equipment status effects. Randomizes the on-hit, on-equip, and immunity status effects. This also affects the enemies, which means that enemies can be immune to different things than they would normally be, or likewise susceptible to certain things. I will play with this one off, mostly because of the on-equip effect. This includes negative status effects. So, on equip, you could have the best piece of armor stat-wise, but because when you equip it, your character is automatically petrified. There are a lot of negative status effects in the game, which means there is a high chance that your piece of armor will have at least one negative status effect equipped to it. It significantly reduces the available pieces of equipment that your characters can equip. Until there is a way of specifically selecting certain status effects to include or exclude from on-equip, I would recommend not playing with randomized equipment status effects. Okay, and now we come down to where our loots are. Now this will be the bread and butter of your randomizer playthrough, because the ultimate goal in the randomizer is to find your key items needed to complete the game. By default, it will have it set to randomize item locations. This only will randomize things that spawn in the regular treasure chests and miscellaneous rewards. To actually have your randomized key items, you'll need to select the key items. There'll be a long list here of what is and isn't randomized. Mostly, these ones here are all key items that are required to access certain areas of the game. Now we have side key items. I also play with this one on. Again, we have our nice long list of key items here. These ones are not necessarily required to unlock progress of the game, but they will be required to access a certain check. For instance, we have the Merchant's Armband down here. This one is required to access the Pilica Diaries check, which Pilica's Diary is also a check, because once you hand that in to Pilica, they will give you another reward check. These are also access areas to certain side areas, such as the Age-worn key for the Hellworm, the fragments for the medallions for the Nabradis section of the game, and such. Grindy key items. These ones listed here, they are the 25 Pinewood Chops and the Sandalwood Chop. The Pinewood Chops are easy enough to get in the Sandalwood. The only thing is, as it says, it's grindy and they may take a time. Also, on the plus side, it does mean that if you do Arcades early on, you have 25 easy checks to get potentially an awful lot of loot with no need to do any combat. Hunt key items. I like to play with these ones. The hunt key items are anything that would be dropped by a mark when you defeat it. These items are ones that are required to actually hand in the mark, and they're the following list of items here. So things like the cactus flower from the flowering cactoid, broken key from the white moose, and such. Having this on expands the list of possible locations for your key items. Now we come down to our Subterra orbs. These are from the Pharos Lighthouse. By default, only the first 3 orbs are randomized. If you include the Subterra orbs, this is anything in the Subterra specific levels. So this is the secondary area of the Pharos that you can access after defeating the story section of the Pharos normally. The Subterra contains a lot of very high level enemies and can be quite annoying to navigate. It is a very dark area, So if you're not a fan of exploring dark areas and potentially having to do a lot of high-level combat, this might be one for you to skip on. Next, we have Hunt Trophies. So there's a side quest in the Fawn Coast whereby you talk to an NPC and initiate a very large side section of the game, which includes 31 rare game that will spawn. Each of these has a particular trophy attached to it. If you have this turned on, that means that any of those rare games can include anything else that you happen to have selected blue. This is one that you probably recommend not doing for beginners. If you are very familiar with where the hunts are or are prepared to sit on a wiki page finding where they are, this might be good. Some of the hunts do have, Hunt Club rare marks do have slightly annoying spawn conditions, and you will be forced to trek all over the map. If you are interested in exploring every nook and cranny of Ivalice, by all means include the hunt trophies. Writ of Transit. This is a unique item whereby if you have the Writ of Transit and the system access key, you can go straight to the final boss without any of the other checks. I always like to include Writ of Transit just as an extra thing and a bonus thing. Include party member starting items. So this includes all the items that the party members, when you recruit them, would normally be equipped with. Those items are now randomized. A word of caution: do not play with this setting and party members. Do not play with party member starting items randomized and party member locations randomized, as there is currently potential to soft lock your seed. Have one or the other. Key items, placement, treasure. I would recommend that only if you are planning to have a very long play session and are wanting to explore every nook and cranny of Ivalice. You will be hunting for that one treasure that you cannot find in an area. I almost guarantee it. Key item placement, hunts. So this is hunt rewards. I like having key items in the hunt rewards. It encourages you to go and do the hunts. Clan rank. This requires having the clan primer to be able to access these checks. I enjoy having them on. You will never have to do the Order of Ambrosia to get your key item, because it will be impossible to get to that point of the game without having all of the key items. Clan bosses. Again, I like playing this one. There is a set of bosses that will net you rewards if you talk to Mont Blanc, and that is those set of bosses. Esper. This one is up to you. I tend to play with it. So if you collect certain numbers of Espers and talk to Mont Blanc in the clan, he will give you rewards, and that will be a potential key item. Key item placement, Grindy. So this is the Anne's Sister Quest and the Hunt Club owner rewards. I do not play with the grindy ones. They are not difficult, they're just time consuming. Key item placement, hidden starting items. This one is not one I have really played around with, but it is one that has potential for soft lock bugginess, so play with a little bit of caution for that one. Okay, item difficulty depth. We have selections of normal, hard, hard plus, hard double plus, hard triple plus. Essentially, this means that key items required to progress the story are more likely to be placed in higher level combat the harder you go. If you're looking for a very quick playthrough, select something like normal or hard. If you're looking to spend a much longer playthrough, hard triple plus. Character scale depth. Key items are supposed to be placed in later locations, requiring more characters to be unlocked. I have played with this a couple of times, and honestly, I haven't noticed exactly how this one has impacted playthroughs. So, fiddle around with that one and see what how it happens with it for you. Okay, randomizing of shops. Pretty self-explanatory. Shop inventories get shuffled around. I play with same shops in same area. This just cuts down on cycling through all the shops of Radamnasta or all of the shops of Arcades. Everything in Arcades will have the same inventory. Everything in Radamnasta will have the same inventory. The shops on the airships, all the routes will have the same inventory. Then you can adjust how much inventory you want. 20, the default setting, is a pretty good size. Bazaars. I like playing this one on. So any bazaar goods that you unlock are going to be randomized contents. So you could potentially get a Tauren Soul weapon or a Sight and Grab for 100 gil, or you could get a potion for 50,000 gil. You never know what you're getting. Add teleport stones to starting inventory. This is a new addition to this version of the mod. Definitely play with it. Having a stock of teleport stones straight away means that you're spending less time manually hiking between places. Once you've unlocked your teleport route, you are free to come and go as you please, and you're not having to worry about whether or not you can find some teleport stones somewhere. Speeds things up nicely. So shuffle main party members. This means that the party members will be in a different location to what their check location is supposed to be. For instance, normally you would find Penelo at the Giza Plains check. If this were to be shuffled on, you might find Penelo at Giza Plains, or you might find Barsh, Balthea, etc. Do not play with this one when you have randomized party member items, as there can be some potential for softlock. Randomized license boards. So this means that your initial license board will be randomized. I like doing this. It means that you get given a certain set of tools right from the beginning, and you also don't have to worry about choice paralysis with selecting your first starting board. Randomized starting license boards. So that was what I was just talking about. The randomized license boards means that each half of the board will have a different selection of abilities and spells and weapon equipments. So the right half of boards will be your weapon and armor equips, and then the left half of your board will be your primarily magic weapons and magics. Hints from Moogles. Definitely play with this one on. It is particularly useful, especially if you've hit some of the triggers that are particularly grindy or deep. So you get a 1 hint per Sky Pirate's Den achievement that you get. You get an extra 5 for finding the Dusty Letter. There are various options. You can have exact, where item and location are given, a vague area, or an unknown item but exact location. So something or other is in this particular area. Or random, where hints can be any one of this combination. I have mostly played on exact, but I have had random as well. For myself, I think I tend to prefer with the exact, but random can also add a little bit of extra spice. That one is personal preference. Hint abilities. This means that abilities such as magics will also be included in the hint list. So if you get a hint saying flare is in X location, you've got something to go for. Shuffle music. You will need to download music packs to be able to use this. It will not shuffle the game's own default music. Pretty much what it says on the tin, your background music's going to be shuffled. You might get an interesting selection of musics for the areas. That one is a personal preference. EXP multipliers. Exactly what it says on the tin. You get more XP and you can scale how much you want. So this goes from nothing to 1000%, so 10 times. I find the default settings of 210 because I can't get it any closer, and 100 here work best. LP multipliers, so license points. Again, I find the default settings here work really well. I tend to get enough LP and enough XP with these settings that I never feel the need to go grinding. Especially as bosses and marks drop huge amounts of LP and XP. So that is all our main randomizations. We continue to music. This is where you will add any music packs. You will have to download those ones separately. There are notes in some of the random and the mods README files about how and where to get the music packs. Once we've got all of our flag settings done, we can go to finish. And then we can go generate seed. It will think for a little while. There it's thinking, randomizing our treasure data, thinking about where it's placing everything. And ta-da, it is done. So we can go to the open the docs folder. This will have a documentation for it, including the spoiler log. Spoiler log is very useful if you happen to get stuck and are thinking, where the bloody hell was this last check item that I need? And then you can hit share current seed with flags, which is a JSON file. Again, if you're playing with other people, either cooperatively or competitively, this is what you will be using. And that concludes our little run through of the randomizer. Hopefully that is useful. And in the next few videos, I'll be going through each area of the game in more detail for what you can do and when you should do it. Until next time, this is Type This Out. Have a good day, guys. Bye.